Hello, true believers, and welcome back to another edition of BK's Bullets. As you guys know, from week to week, I like to review the DC animated classics, and today I'll be taking a look at 2011's All Star Superman. Before I begin with today's episode, do yourself a favor and subscribe to Brent's channel, okay? Guy's been doing some really, really good stuff. I'm here to perform a very special job, and that's to talk to you guys about this very weird ass cartoon that I just got done watching, All Star Superman. As a matter of fact, I like to play a game when I do these reviews with Brent, and I'll take a picture of the show and I'll text it to him. And usually within seconds, he writes me back and he's like, "Oh, that's this whatever." And I wrote him and I said, "This one sucks." And he texted me back and explained that he thought the adaptation in the comic book was really, really good, and that maybe they kind of rushed stuff in the movie. Wow. I mean, that's probably this video in a nutshell, but of course, I've got some time to kill, so we're going to expand on it just a little bit, okay? All Star Superman is a very weird story in the sense that it's not told in the traditional sense. And I don't mean that there's time jumps or anything like that. But typically, in a traditional film, you have these kind of key moments. You have the build up to the story, you have this major moment, and then you have the resolution, right? In All Star Superman, I guess early on we find out Superman's dying. We go off on numerous tangents, meet random characters who absolutely contribute nothing to the story, have no relevance on the story. And then at the very end of the show, Superman has to sacrifice himself to save the planet, and he dies, and that's the end. And all of these moments leading up to it were completely useless. They did not add anything to the story or the legend or the tale of Superman. Just a few of the ones that I remember because I honestly zoned out about halfway through this movie because I found it incredibly bad. Jimmy Olsen appears in drag for absolutely no reason at all. It's never explained. Okay. We have Samson and what was the other dude's name? Quantum? I don't even remember his name, but two other superheroes that apparently travel through time that help Superman fight back the lizard people that are living in the core of the earth. And then they compete in this contest for Lois's love. Amounts to nothing. Superman confesses to Lois that he is in fact Clark Kent. She doesn't believe him at all through the entire movie for unknown reasons. Superman also gives Lois a super potion, which allows her to become Superwoman essentially for 24 hours. Lex Luthor steals a portion of this potion and he becomes Super Lex Luthor for 24 hours, has an epiphany of all the bad things that he's done in his life, and creates the formula to make more Supermen in the future. Superman travels to a distant planet to put a shrunken city there. And while he's gone, two other random Kryptonians come and take over Metropolis, just Metropolis. And then Superman's like, "Hey, you can't do that." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then they die. I'm sure there's more, but it was this zany moment after zany moment after zany moment that had no tie ins to anything. It wasn't like at the end of the film, Superman pieced all these things together and he's like, I remember my interaction with Samson fighting the lizard people. And oh, I remember how Lois Lane felt when I gave her those superpowers. And oh, and then that's how I'm going to solve this mystery or the grand finale. No, it's none of that. It's some random alien son who poisons the sun, but Superman had a pet sun eater that he tries to use to fight it. Of course, it doesn't work, and then Superman ends up killing it himself. Big surprise there. When we have these kind of films come out, I know I talk about this a lot on this channel and on this series. Who are comic books for? And in particular, who are these adaptations for? There is so much missing from this story that I have to assume does exist in the comic that didn't make it to this film. I really have to legitimately ask myself, this who is this for? Because it's not for me. It's not for me who never read All Star Superman, who doesn't know anything about this. I mean, yeah, I know who Superman is, of course, but this particular tale of Superman, I know nothing about this. And maybe these are nods to the story. Like, hey, remember in episode 3 when Jimmy Olsen's walking around in high heels because blank? We're just going to throw that into the story because we know people are going to look at that and go, I remember episode 3 when blah, 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 blah. That's all I can think, because watching this by itself, having no background or drawing upon any other material from anything that I have read, this film just totally fails on any just basic level of how to tell a story. Oh, I'm looking at the Wikipedia here. I'd also like to give a special shout out to the Ultra Sphinx, who asks Superman the unbeatable question that was written on a newspaper that Superman wrote for himself that the time traveler brought back in time so he can read it and answer the question. Because, we needed to fill 5 minutes of the story, I guess, with this. This story, if this is really a nod in reading Brent's text, he said this is really a nod to kind of like the good days of Superman. Like, he is wholeheartedly good in this entire film. He's very soft-spoken. He's very calm. He's collected. He does really nice things for people. He's very, he gives up a lot, obviously his life at the end, right? He's a very, he's like the ideal man, right? That's what you strive to be, So, and that's always the rub, Superman isn't a human, but he really wants to be, but he's the perfect human, but he's not, but he is. I like that concept, and I like the idea that Superman is in that sense the perfect person, the perfect citizen, the upstanding man, the one everybody wants to be. And in a sense that ultimately him giving his life at the end is the most human thing, in that sense that he's sacrificing himself for the greater good, in this case fixing the sun from blowing up or whatever. I assume the sun, something bad was going to happen to it. He saves the day, really. But unfortunately, when you look at this, it doesn't really lead up to, and it doesn't feel really warranted. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think they took a really pivotal moment and they kind of ruined it because they got lost in all these other side stories. If all these other people he met either taught him that or reinforced that lesson, if all these people he interacted with ultimately became good people and went out and while in his absence, they all rose together to become Superman in a sense, that would be more interesting. You see it a little bit at the very end with Lex Luthor, where Lex Luthor does kind of crack this code to make the next generation of Superman. So he does kind of learn his lesson in a sense, and he wants to give back. Lex Luthor's ultimate goal in destroying Superman. What a 180 for him to basically recreate another one, which is essentially what he does at the end. But all the other characters you meet, the way Superman deals with them and the fact that they just vanish and they don't add up to the story, I think really hurts this final moment. And I think this story could have been told significantly better if all of these villains or all of these ancillary characters were touched by Superman in such a way that they changed who they were and they realized that they can be better than themselves and they all rise up to fight an evil together. That would have been a much better story, because then you'd find yourself rooting for villains like Parasite and Lex Luthor and I don't know what this Solaris, right? If these people all teamed up to do something great, that would have been cool. But no, we get a bunch of ancillary, nonsensical stories, and then at the end, Superman sacrifices himself at the end. This was not a good film. This was a horrible film, and I don't see how people could have appreciated this not knowing the source material. You're filling in the gaps of all the crappiness with the comic book, which I hope was better. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe Superman fans are so desperate that this passes for a good story, but not a good one for me. Major thumbs down. Did not like this at all. Feel free to shred me in the comments. I love to hear anything you guys have to say about it. Make sure while you're down there you subscribe though, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys in the funny pages.